Okay, so let's move down to John chapter 6. I know you recently had a debate that covered John chapter 6. And so we're going to look at John chapter 6, verses 44, and then we're going to jump to 65. Now, you can parse that out however you want, Dr. Flowers. Sure. This is the way that I've parsed it. But it says in John 6:44 and 65, no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day. Okay. And he was saying, for this reason, I have said to you that no one can come to me unless it has been granted him from the Father.
Well, let me have an opportunity here just to promote my book, Drawn by Jesus. I wrote this in preparation for my debate with James White, and it goes into a huge amount of detail in all the different arguments and why we believe what we believe with regard to this particular passage for those that want to go deeper into this. But we obviously agree with the plain reading of the text and what it just said. No one can come unless they've been drawn first. What are the means of drawing? By the teaching of God. And so if you listen and learn from the Father, which is what he goes on to say in verse 45, then you would come to the Son. And this is a theme throughout the book of John that you see over and over and over and over and over again. If you listen to Moses, if you listen to the teaching of the Father, then you would believe in me because they spoke of me. Jesus, the Son and the Father are one. If you recognize his voice, if you knew his voice for real, you claiming to because you're Jews, you claim to be a follower of God. But if you really followed God the Father, you would believe in me because he and I are the same. And this is the theme. And the whole point is that Jesus knew from the beginning, as verse 64 says, who believed in him and who did not. And he goes on to say, for this reason. For what reason? For this reason, he knows they're following him for erroneous reasons. He knows they're trying to fill their bellies. He knows they're there to watch for miracles and signs and wonders. He knows their heart, and therefore he's not entrusting himself to them, just like back in John chapter 2 when the crowds were following him, but he knew the condition of their hearts, and therefore he would not entrust himself to them. The same concept is being said here. The Father is not going to draw to his Son here on earth those who are following him without true faith. Only those who truly believe in him. In other words, the big point of contention here is unconditional election. Is God unconditionally picking people for no apparent reason, no known reason, to us at least, certain people and somehow causing them to believe? That's what the Calvinist is reading into this. It never says any of those things, but we're saying is people who listen and learn from the Father, men like Simeon, for example, they would have been entrusted to come to the Son. They would have been given to the Son. Cornelius is a great example of this. He believed in the Father. He gave alms. It says that the Lord recognized that he was a faithful man. And so what does God do? He draws him to the Son. How? By sending Peter from Joppa to come and preach to him and tell him the gospel so that he too could be saved. So God has a reason for drawing people to himself and drawing people to his Son. And in the context of the New Testament, he's not drawing all people to himself yet. Remember, the gospel doesn't go to the Jew and the Gentile until after he's raised up. At the time of John 6:44, he's not drawing all people to himself. And in fact, he's hardening those who are in rebellion, the Pharisees that day, to keep them in the dark, using parabolic and difficult symbolic language to keep them in the dark, like eat my flesh, drink my blood. And he's doing that in order to ensure his plan of redemption through Calvary, because these are the same crowds that cry out, crucify him, give us Barabbas, which is a part of his predeterminate plan. God has at his disposal, in his strategy, to harden the already hardened and rebellious people to bring about his plan of redemption for not only them, but for the world.